With the most recent chapter to release in Dead by Daylight, we were given our newest survivor, Lara Croft. Sadly, many have claimed that she does not fit into Dead by Daylight because Tomb Raider isn't horror. Now, is that statement true? Maybe. But at the same time, horror is subjective. Horror is so much more than you think. Let me ask you. What would you consider horror? Monsters? Slashers? Disgusting transformations? Oxford's dictionary defines horror as an intense feeling of fear, shock, or disgust. Note how none of these descriptions give any specific details as to what is horrific. Only the feelings, emotions, and experiences related to it. Now, would I say those things are horrifying? Yes, I would. But to me, there's a horror much more intense than those. A terror that I cannot shake no matter how often I face it. And it's this. Yes, this seemingly small, insignificant pool of water instills a fear in me so deep that I have to stop and mentally prepare myself to go into it. Hello, I'm Ash, and I suffer from what's known as thalassophobia, an extreme irrational fear of large or deep bodies of water. It could be a lake, the ocean, even certain swimming pools. If I cannot touch or see the bottom, it sends me into a massive fight or flight trigger, and sadly this phobia triggers to digital media for me as well. Combined with my phobia of the dark, known as nyctophobia, images like these genuinely make me uncomfortable to even look at, let alone think about being in those situations, especially if it's dark. To me, nothing is more terrifying than being underwater or in the dark. Something Tomb Raider not only does once, but several times throughout the series. Not only do they know these moments are tense, but they put so much emphasis on the horror of it. The fear of things being in the water with you, the panic of drowning, the whole time putting you in control of Lara, making sure you're responsible if she dies or not. The thing is, this isn't the only phobic stimulus that's in the Tomb Raider games, and there's some outright horror elements in these games as well. Things like being chased by wild animals such as bears or jaguars, and even moments of psychological horror. The games include many forms of phobic stimulus, like submechanophobia, a phobia of man-made objects underwater like tombs and machinery, or even buildings and statues. Those who suffer from claustrophobia and claustrophobia aren't exempt from this game either, as there are many moments where Lara is in tight spaces or borderline stuck, even trapped in some cases. People who suffer from necrophobia, the phobia of death or corpses, will have to face many scenes with an abundance of corpses, blood, skeletons, and even dead animals. Tombs being riddled with bones and skeletons, as well as seeing Lara herself die if you fail certain events. Nyctophobiacs will have to delve into dark caves or water with little more than a glow stick in some cases. Just look here, I'm not RP walking, I'm genuinely scared. And with the ramping up of the ambience, it's slowly puts me into more and more of a panic. Even people with autophobia could be bothered by being alone in a jungle or a forest trying to survive in this game. For the people who suffer from these phobias, myself included, these games could be very, very difficult to finish or even start, as I have yet to get past the second level of Tomb Raider Underworld, since it requires me to dive to the bottom of the ocean. I think the argument that Tomb Raider doesn't belong in DBD comes from people that have either never played these games or simply have very little phobias. There's a similar common argument for Trickster and Skull Merchant not fitting into Dead by Daylight. However, I think again this is from just a surface level glance at these killers. Trickster literally kidnaps and murders people, using their screams and his own music with a twisted, sadistic glee, using his own fame and beauty to basically get whoever and whatever he wants. A very real thing that happens where murderers are fawned over for their appearance or charm, like Yukataka Oka or even Ted Bundy, where people lined up to marry these horrible individuals. And Skull Merchant literally hunts people for sport. Let that sink in. Ignore the dark manga. She literally hunts people for fun because she's rich and she can. It's similar to The Most Dangerous Game by Richard Connell, a story of a man who hunts humans out of boredom from hunting big game. Adriana, often picking people who are stronger or athletic or more powerful, makes her desire to hunt people all the more disturbing to me. Dead by Daylight actually contains quite a bit of phobic stimulus. Accompanying my nyctophobia and thalassophobia, I also suffer from emetophobia, the phobia of vomit, and unfortunately we have one very lovely lady that happens to be entirely based around this lovely concept. Yes, the plague, or as the community lovingly calls her, Vami Mami, is in this game. Unfortunately, I cannot play as or against her, as hearing or seeing others vomit quickly makes me feel very ill or even become sick myself. If I happen to be a survivor playing against a plague, I have to either mute my game or even DC if the visuals become too much for me. And it's a real shame because I wish I could experience this killer. I'd love for them to add some kind of accessibility option for phobic material, as I know those who suffer from coulrophobia will likely DC or risk genuine distress when playing against the clown. And that's a shame because I enjoy playing the clown, but the thought of causing someone genuine distress bothers me. The Doctor can trigger iatrophobic players, not to mention he's already terrifying on his own. Spirit and Sadako can trigger phasmophobiacs, and the list goes on and on. Giving players the option to replace character models with something less unpleasant, like a basic model or shape for killers, and an audio option for plague, like only coughing and muting the vomit sounds, or making it so goofy that it cannot be triggering, like how I've modded my Left 4 Dead 2. It would be funny, but very unlikely. Personally, I love spiders. They're my second favorite animal, and I'm begging for some kind of insect or spider-type killer to be added to the game. But I know arachnophobia is one of the most common phobias in the world, and until they can add some kind of measure to ensure phobic stimulus can be opted out of, I think a lot of people will quit the game if that killer is added. And I wouldn't feel okay playing a killer that could genuinely trigger people. A lot of people argue that Dead by Daylight is a horror game and that we're supposed to be scared. And while I can see that argument, at the same time, I think player safety and comfort is just as important, especially when survivors get no control of who they can queue into. Having some kind of safety measure to ensure you cannot queue into matches with those killers would be a nice function, even if it required a longer queue time to ensure comfort. Like a simple checkbox of killers you'd rather not play against. I feel like if all of these themes and phobias can exist for killers, then I see no issue with survivors coming from an IP that covers so many phobias and topics. Personally, I feel no other character than maybe Jake carries the title of Survivor so accurately, and I'd love to see more characters along the line of Lara and Tomb Raider as a whole. After my Dead Space chapter, that is. I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. It actually took me quite a while to make because I had to deal with my phobias while making it, and I realized I'm a bit late on the whole does Lara Croft fit train, but I wanted to play through a good bit of Tomb Raider games to remind myself of them so I could make a better stance on the subject. Let me know what you guys think about Lara being in the game, and are you considering giving the games a try? I couldn't recommend them enough. They are very good games, even if they do kind of bother me at times. But yeah, until then, I will see you guys later. Bye bye!